All right, so good afternoon. And for now, I will demo my lab 7. So let's take a look at questions 1. So for question 1, it just need us to test whether our domain name is able to resolve the domain name into the IP address. So as for this, so we have the server hello. So for server hello site, I'm using the domain name, specify it as FQDN, and whereas for the client side, I'm using the normal IP address. So for this, the result is that I'm able to. So just to test it, we can see that the domain name is able to be resolved so that these two can communicate with this client can connect to the server. So that's for part 1. And another thing is for the server hello.python file, we can see that I have already added I have already added this set sock options. So that's the modifications compared to the original server hello.py. So as for the second part, which is on the simple http server.python file, so which is this. So what I did is so here I execute I launch the server, launch this simple HTTP server. So so for this, it is going to um it is going to use um wildcard address, wildcard IP at this port. So once I launch, then I try to access it from Firefox and also from the from the Chrome. So as for the Firefox, so when I um so when I try to access this through this IP and port, we can see that it is going to display the content from the server, and same goes to the Chrome. And another thing is that is when I try to access it from sorry. The other thing is where I try to access it from this send HTTP request. So so we can see that it is able to connect to that server, and also to get where is it? Yeah, this one. It is able to So it is able to connect to the server and also get the results from that, requesting to web content, and then returns all the results from the server, get the results from the server. And the another thing is for this, I also try to access a public website. So here I comment out the the original one, which make request to the HTTP server hosted on my computer. So for this, I try to access a public website, which is the example.com. So it is also able to connect to that and retrieve the HTML documents from the public server. And the next thing is on on another HTTP request. And for this one, what I have modified is I have asked the users to enter the IP address and the port number instead of hard coded that into our Python file. So for this, I have tried on few server. So the first server is our simple HTTP server. So it is able to retrieve from that. So where I enter the IP address of the server and also the specified port number. And for the second one um is where I try to access this example.com at port 80, and it is also able to retrieve the HTML documents. So that's for that. And next is on the simple scan Python file. this is a web scanner. It scans for open ports. So for this, let's see. Sorry. Okay. Um. So the lab asked us to scan for the open ports on this www this example.com website. So it is going to scan it at port XD. So when I try to run on it, it is able to say that this port is open. And the another one is where I try to scan on my hosted server with the specified FQDN. So for this, since our port is not using, since our server is not using port XD, so it is going to get, it is going to, we are going to see that it the connection is going to be refused because the port is closed. But if we try to scan, if we try to scan on this port, which is the port that our server is running on, uh, we are able to see that this port is actually opens. And next one is port scanner .python file. And as for this, this is where the user can enter the website or the IP address, the IP address, also the domain name that they want to scan for, and then specify the range that they want to scan. And as for this, so what I changed in the code uh is here. So this one is this one is to ask the user to enter the IP address and also domain name of the host. And as for this, this is to get the starting point of the port and also the end the end of the port. So this is basically to specify the range of the port that we want to scan. And um I also what I did is for this, I make sure that the last port is going to be bigger than the first port. If the user enter incorrectly, then we will prompt the user to re-enter it again. So for this, the first port, the first server that I have scanned is the simple HTTP server that is hosted on this computer. So I just started to scan it on this port 54321 and end at 54323. And because our port is because our server is operating on this 22 port, so we are able to see that it is going to show it opened. And next is to scan the public website, so example.com again. So for this, we know that it is going to be operating, or the port is going to be open on port 80, whereas the others are being closed. And lastly is where we scan for the Google DNS server. For this, I started to scan from port 50 until port 55. So we are able to see that the port 53 is being opened since it is since this is the DNS server. So yeah, so that's for this part. And as for the next part, which is the chatting part, yeah, the TCP chat client and also the TCP chat server. Yeah, let me see. Okay, so this is the code that I have written. Where we will launch the TCP chat server first, and only then we will launch the TCP chat client. Um, okay. So for this, for the server part, we will have two different sockets. So the first socket will be to bind the server host and also the server port. And the second socket is going to use to connect, use to communicate with the client. So yeah, that's it. And And as for this part, so this one is to use for the server to receive the message from the client. So it is like it is going to have a receive method, and once it receive, it will decode that from from the UTF-8 format into uh, normal ASCII character. And we also check that if the client is going to send by message to us, and if we receive the by message, then we are going to close the connections. And same goes to the response. So for this is where we so this part is where we send the message to the client. So same here, same goes here. If we send by message, then we are also going to cross the connections. Same goes to the client part. So for the client part also, it is going to have one socket that is used to communicate with the server. So at first, this client will first send the message to the server, and it is the first one that initiate the connections. And then here is the code that will specify that whenever the client sends a by message, so this one is to send a message to the server. Whenever the client send a by message, it is going to just close the connections, or if the client receive the by message from the server also, it is also going to check it whether there is a by message, and if there is, it is going to close the connections. So here's the code that I have run. So first we will initiate a connections. We will launch the server first, and next this server will wait for connection request. And as for the client, so same goes to client. Once the server is launched, we can initiate connections from the client. So by entering the name, and then it will connect to the server, and this client is going to initiate the first message. And once it initiate the message, it will actually this will actually being blocked, and will wait for the connection, waiting for the reply from the server. So the server is also going to reply that. And once the client send a by message, it's going to close the connection. And because the server also received by message from the client, it is also going to close the connections. So this is where the client send a by message. And for the second one is where the server will send the by message. So for this, we also launch the server first, and the client will then connect to the server. And for this, so we can see that the client has joined, and the client initiates a message, and then there is a reply. And here is where the server will cross the connection first. So once it sends the by message, it will close the connections, and the client will also receive the by message, and it will close the connections. So that's for the TCP chat server and client part. And next one is I will demo on monitoring the socket using the SS command. So for this, let me quickly. Oh, it's lagging. Okay, all right. So let me just launch this, and also the simple HTTP server.py file, py server. Okay, so this is being launched already. Okay, so now I will use this terminal, and then Okay, so just make it bigger. So for this, mm, we are able to see that there are two server being active. So the first one is this one is server hello, and whereas the second one is this one. This is the simple HTTP server. So then what I can do is I can um so for, with this command we are able to the monitor the sockets that are active. So next thing is I will try to kill both of this server based on their PID. So the first one is with this PID 26342. Okay. And the second one is this one 24037. Okay. So now we can see that the connection is being terminated. Okay. So that's for using the ss command. And lastly is where we um try to spin up a server by using the Python HTTP server command. And for this, I will be using the terminal. So uh, there is a file that I want to host. So it is inside the document folder. So there are two files. So the first one is info.txt and the other one is a picture of Pokemon. So here is where I can launch the server, and the file will be hosted um, on the local host. Okay, so this HTTP server is being launched. So what I can do now is I can try to access it from the browser. So we need to get the IP address, and by default, Python will hosted it on port 8000. Okay, so this is the directory that is being hosted. So you can see that this one is the first file, and this is another picture. So I think that's it for this lab demo. All right, so that's it.